Hey everybody, Josh here with a look at another Star Wars toy, and today we're going to do a toy unboxing. And today we are looking at a toy from the Star Wars Micro Machines Action Fleet Collection. This is the Bantha. So let's get this guy over to the toy studio and unbox him. Come on. Alright guys, here we are today in my toy studio with a toy from the Micro Machines Star Wars Action Fleet Collection. And for those of you who aren't totally familiar with Micro Machines, what we're looking at here is a toy line of very small toys. And so there's two basic kinds of Micro Machines. You have your what would be probably considered more standard Micro Machines, which are very small versions of the ships, you know, anywhere from like 1 inch to 2 inches. They're very small. And then you have what's called the Action Fleet Collection, which is what we're looking at here. And they did a bunch of vehicles and creatures from the Star Wars universe. And they range anywhere from about 3 inches to about 6 inches, depending on which vehicle or creature you have. And these guys came out, this toy line was released in the mid-90s. And this one here is from 1995 or 6, I believe. We'll look at the back of the packaging here. And you have to understand, these are prequel trilogy, so this is one of the toys, and what you guys kind of have to understand is I've been collecting for a very long time, and I was collecting before the prequel trilogy was released, and there was a limit to how many things Hasbro was putting out at the time. They weren't producing at the kind of numbers like they do today, and so if you wanted to collect more than what Hasbro was putting out, you had to look at other companies like Galoob, which made the Micro Machines back then. And so I got into collecting the Micro Machines Action Fleet Collection, and I got to where I really enjoyed this Action Fleet toy line. And we are going to unbox this thing today, but before we get that far, I just want to quickly spin the thing around so you guys can look at the packaging. And as you can see, the packaging has a little bit of damage to it, but you have to understand this thing is 20-something years old. Let me see here. Made in 1996 by Galoob Toys. So this thing is a little over 20 years old. So there's what the back of it looks like. And so what you have here is a picture or a little drawing of the Bantha with a description of the toy and toy line, and then as you saw on the front of the packaging, you get a couple little extra figures. So you get the Tuscan Raider, also known as Sand People, desert nomads from the planet Tatooine, who wear heavy robes to protect themselves from the harsh climate. Tuscan Raiders have a violent streak and are experts at desert survival. Then there's the Gomorian Guard, a violent pig-like species adept at heavy labor and mercenary work. Many Gomorian guards serve as guards at Jabba the Hutt's desert palace. And then you have Brie Tonica, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I apologize if I'm not, one of the beautiful Tonica Sisters who have conned and swindled some of the most wealthy and powerful men in the galaxy. And then we have Bib Fortuna, Jabba the Hutt's chief lieutenant, a Twi'lek. He has 2 tentacle skull appendages called head tails. And then, of course, the Bantha himself. Type, domesticated pack animal. Planet of origins, unknown. Common to at least a dozen, including Tatooine. Height, 2 to 3 meters at shoulders. Habitat, adaptable for survival in conditions ranging from desert to tundra. Cargo capacity, 500 kilograms. Enemies, the crate dragons. Each new action scale replica from the Star Wars Action Fleet is loaded with cool, movable features. Figures are interchangeable with all vehicles and creatures. Continue the epic adventure with Star Wars Action Fleet, and may the Force be with you. So there you go. I read the back of the packaging to you guys. And let's cut this thing open. I want to get into this guy. let's do this. I'm pretty excited about this one. All right. Oh, come on. This thing is glued with a lot of glue. All right, there they go. They're falling out already. Let's see what 20-year-old promotional material looks like. Anyone want to join the official Star Wars fan club? There you go. There's the address to send your $1 to. I want you to notice, though, before internet was as big as it is now, no website. All right, let's move on from that. Okay, so we'll move all these figures out of the way real quick here. And here is your Bantha, and let's go ahead and pull him out of here. All right, guys, here is the Bantha. Very cool. And as you can see, he has some, I'm not going to use the term real, but lifelike fur on him, and he is shedding, so let's get rid of that. I'm sure this isn't real fur, but I can appreciate their attempt at detail. And you can see the under fur is, of course, just a rubber molding. I don't know, they didn't give you a good look at the Bantha's face in the movies, but there's what they look like in the face. And the horns are made out of a little bit harder plastic. Feels like he's made out of a soft rubber. You can see there is movement in the legs, but they don't stay. You're just kind of bending them and they flex back. It feels like they're hollow rubber. See, you can squeeze them. You get a little smushy face. And if you look at the top here, you can see he has the saddle on, and there's little holes cut out because the Tuscan Raider actually sits up here, and they made little cutouts for his feet. And let's see here. There's what the underbelly looks like. And same thing with the front legs. The tail moves, but it just kind of bounces back into position. The whole body's rubber, and it's firm. When you squeeze the body, it feels like there's something in there, but when you squeeze the legs, they feel hollow. But there he is. And so, as you can see in the packaging, with each of these, you would get, and here, I gotta move the camera a little bit, guys. I apologize, because I had to get the whole packaging on camera here, and it was a little bit taller than I would have liked for the camera setup, but let's move on. Anyway, so of course you get the Tuscan Raider here. And these figures do have movement to them. But because they're so small, they had to cut some corners a little bit. So the arms are one piece. So when you move one arm, you're moving both. And the same thing with the legs. His legs do move, but the knees stay bent because he sits on the saddle of the Bantha. But when you move one leg, you're going to move both of them. So, I mean, it actually looks like he's jumping out at you in that position, doesn't it? Okay, so there is your Bantha. He's holding the gaffy stick. Or, I'm sorry, your sand person, or Tuscan Raider, depending on your terminology preference. And this is one thing I really appreciate about this toy line is you get these really teeny figures, and they have a good amount of detail in them, which for a figure that's less than an inch tall, or probably just about an inch tall, you have to admit they did a pretty good job with them. That's a lot of detail for a little tiny figure. There you go. And this is how he sits on there. He just kind of pop his feet into the little holes. And he doesn't snap in or anything. If you flip it over, he's going to fall right out. But he does sit up there nicely. Ooh. There you go. And just to help you guys understand a little bit, to put this in context, how small these things are, because I know sometimes on camera it's a little hard to tell. I have a 3 3/4 inch figure here. And just to show you this, the difference in size and put it in context, there you go. So you can see how small these toys really are. They're very small. And so just real quickly here, let's take a look at the other figures that came in the package. This is Bib Fortuna. And of course, everyone remembers this guy from Return of the Jedi. And same thing, he does have arm movement, but when you move one arm, you're going to move both. He does have leg movement as well. And because of his robe, his legs are just one big solid piece of plastic. But they do move a little bit at the hip. You can put him in the seated position. Let's get this guy a little bit closer to the camera so you can get a look at him. But I mean, as far as like face modeling and everything, for the size of this figure, that's very impressive. You have to admit. Alright guys, there's Bib Fortuna. And then we have the Tuscan Sister, or I'm sorry, I gotta look at the back of the packaging again. What this girl's name is, the Tonica Sister. And again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. But everyone can admit there are some really out there names for the Star Wars universe. And so some of you guys may not recognize this character. She appeared in A New Hope very, very briefly. She's in the background, and she's actually a twin. There's two of them. She's one of two sisters. And they're in the cantina scene, and you have to look very closely, but they do appear on screen for a brief second. Kind of one of those shots where they're scanning the the people in the cantina, or the creatures in the cantina. You can see her, and I believe they're smoking some kind of hookah or something like that. And I know it's kind of hard to tell in this figure, but her hair is actually a bunch of braids. So, but this character does make an appearance in A New Hope very briefly. And same thing, she has arm movement and leg movement. And same thing, if you move one of her limbs, the other one's going to move. So one arm, both arms, one leg, both legs. So there we go. And we'll put her over here next to Bib Fortuna. And then finally here we have the Gomorian Guard. And of course everybody remembers these guys from Return of the Jedi. They're very popular characters. One of my personal favorites. Let's take a look at his movements real quick. So arm movements, and same thing. Moving one arm, you're moving both. The little battle axe is permanently mounted in there. You're not going to get it out. Same thing with the legs here. You move one leg. You're moving them both, and he does go kind of in the seated position. That's about as far as I can get his legs to bend. But there you go. All right, guys. This video is getting pretty long. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. All right, and we'll put the little Gomorian Guard there. And there's the whole set together. Let me center that up on screen a little better. There we go, guys. And there they are, everybody, or there he is. This is the Bantha from the Star Wars Micro Machines Action Fleet Collection. And with your extra figures, the Gomorian Guard, Bib Fortuna, and the Tonica Sister from Episode 4, A New Hope. And thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys.